You have a compost pile? Most people don't, sadly. If you'd like to have one, we have the tricks and the techniques of how to do that. Andrea Ridout went to the Fort Worth Botanic Garden with Dottie Woodson recently. Let's see what they found.
Well, today we're out at the Fort Worth Botanic Gardens, and I'm with my buddy Dottie Woodson from the Texas AgriLife Extension Office, which is part of the Texas A&M system. So let's get into compost. Let's make compost easy for everybody.
Well, first we sort of have to explain what compost is and why we want it so much. And compost is anything that was alive before you can compost. And what you want to do is layer what we call brown stuff and green stuff. And the brown stuff is all your leaves and twigs and all of that stuff. The green stuff comes from your kitchen waste, your grass clippings. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw my brown stuff in, and then I'm going to throw a layer of green stuff in, and then brown stuff in, and green stuff in, and brown stuff in.
Sounds like you're making a cake.
Exactly, exactly, a layer of cake. A layer of cake. You want to water it and wet it down. You don't want it sopping wet, but the moisture has a lot to do with the microorganisms getting to work. Now, if you want a compost bin to hurry up and do stuff, you want to turn it often. Then what's going to happen is it's going to heat up to about 140, 160 degrees, and then compost starts happening. The microorganisms are working, and that's what's heating up the compost pile. Well, the finished byproduct ends up only being in volume about 10% of what you put in there.
So the finished volume. So the finished volume is about 10% of what you start with.
Yes, ma'am. And eventually what happens, you look in here and you're not recognizing what you put in.
It doesn't look like leaves and twigs or whatever anymore. It looks like wonderful,
wonderful, good smelling, what we want to call soil. And what this does to our heavy clay soil in our area, well, any area that has heavy clay soil, is we want to bust that clay up. So that when we do have rainfall, or when we do irrigate, the water can efficiently enter the soil. The plant roots are opportunistic. They can grow easier in soil that's busted up from that clay. I think there's about 15 different types of compost bins here, some homemade, like the one made out of pallets. And the reason why we use pallets, it's a way of recycling the pallet. There's no one way of composting. There's all these different store-bought composters here, but there's also the homemade ones. And I think that gives people a lot of ideas of what will fit in with their landscape and their routine.
So Dottie, let's go take a look at some of the things that we can compost. So there's a lot of stuff you can compost, Dottie, that you might not think of, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes,
What are some of these things?
Well, you know, we've got magazines and newspapers, as long as they use soy ink, and most of them do now, so that's real easy. Any of your paper products, this is a Starbucks cup that's made out of paper, not plastic, although the lid is plastic. That would have to go in your recycle bin.
Recycler.
Tea bags, eggs, any of your kitchen waste, bread. We have some hair here. You can actually go by beauty salons and get that out. You can also go by, I believe, Starbucks and some of the other coffee houses will give you their
coffee.
grind.
Yeah. Well, we've got some great information for you on the website about how to compost. Dottie's loaded some notes there for us, and you can also contact her at the Texas AgriLife Extension. All right, we'll see you next week.